could always use more heroes.
Welcome back to episode 2 of Hero Recall. And this week, it's just me and James, me and Tigrato. Keegan is sick, unfortunately, so we're just going to do it twofer style, and we're just going to chat it up here between us two. It's been kind of a hectic week for Overwatch in general. We had a patch that went live to the grander audience of Overwatch, and we're going to discuss that a little bit. Lots of weird goings on in Owl, as per usual. It's just par for the course right now. And then we're going to get into a little bit of our own stuff, followed by our hero this week, which is Arisa. Or is it Arisa or Arisa? I never know how to pronounce it.
Arisa.
Isn't it technically
There's not two S's.
It's
There's
technically
not
like
two S's.
or 15A or something like that. I think that's what it's supposed to come.
I think that's where she
We'll
got
get
it
into that.
from.
Yeah. We'll get into that. Anyway, so first of all, before we get into the mix, for those people that are on video and watching us on the video, first of all, thank you, because we appreciate that. We love our audio listeners as well, don't get me wrong. I just wanted to say thanks, because we do put a little bit more effort into the video. But I know that you're dying to get it out there, James, so go on, give me a tip of your brim.
It's a Fusions hat. Look, I got it today because I've decided that Boston Uprising are my new favorite team.
There you go.
Everyone's going to hate me. I still like Fusion, don't get me wrong. But I just like Boston better.
That's okay.
But it came in today,
He
which
says
is perfect.
wearing,
because
like, what is
Boston's-
that, is that an outlaw?
Yeah. That's Houston Outlaws. I like three. There's three teams, four
He's a big
teams that I
athlete.
like.
He likes a lot
Yeah.
of teams. Yeah,
I have a Shanghai Dragons jersey. I have a Gaguri jersey as well. So
that's true.
I've got Gaguri. I've got. Let's not list them all. It's going to take forever. But yeah, I've got a lot of jerseys.
So Fusions is your dude right now. He's your big fan.
Yes.
I'm
I like
proud
him
of
in
him.
things.
I'm hella proud of him because, he's a relatively unknown guy. Played for, contenders for a long time, and then pulled up to the big leagues after a stunning performance in the World Cup this year, or last year, I guess. And he did great. And the whole UK squad did great. And it shows because you have Fusions and Kib and Cruz and Boombox was already there, but all these people from that roster have found their way, or they found their home on Overwatch League team, which I think says leaps and bounds for English Overwatch, which I'm very proud of. And he's also a stunning shot caller for a main tank as well. Like, that's usually a lot of the supports play shot caller, but yeah, that dude does a hell of a shot call. So yeah, props to you. Nice hat, digging it. There you go. Get to show it off a little bit. So let's dig into the news, Overwatch news this week. So what I wanted to talk about is last week, or the week before rather, we had a discussion about all the upcoming changes on the patch that was live on the PTR. We also discussed Baptiste, who was brand new to the PTR. So now, or rather from last Tuesday onwards, those things have gone live, and everyone has had a chance to play around with the new kind of patch and Baptiste and all that stuff. So I want to hear now your thoughts on some of those changes, since I had already had a bit of exposure to it, but you hadn't had any, and you said I'm saving my thoughts. I'm not going to watch any streamers. I'm not going to do anything. I'm going to make my own decisions. So what did you land on? What's your decisions? What do you think?
On Baptiste?
Oh, well, let's start with
That's
Baptiste.
that's who I was avoiding.
Yeah.
With Baptiste, at first, like up until earlier today, actually, I was like, I'm not sure if I'm going to be good at this character. I'm not sure if I like him. But when I started figuring out the ability set and the weapon mechanics and everything, I think for a lot of the heroes that I have a big problem with right now dealing with as a tank and support, I'm looking at you, Junkrat, Reaper, all you fuckers. He's good for dealing with those because of that immortality field, and he's good at suppressing them as well. He's not like a hard counter to all of them, but he can do a lot against them. So he actually gives me this new support to deal with some of these things I previously couldn't. And he can also shoot Pharah, which previously the only support you could really do that effectively with was Ana, and that's if you had good aim. You still have to have good aim.
Maybe Zen. Let's give Zen some props here. I've taken down a few flying birds.
Yeah, we're talking console players here.
Yeah.
No, no slight to console players, I'm one of you, but it's unlikely. I can't hit a Pharah as Zen very well myself, I'll admit it. But as Baptiste, I can burst her down. So it's really nice.
So before you go any further, your main, as it were, is usually Miss Brigitte, right? And the thing that you loved about Brigitte was that you could beat the shit out of people as well as healing people or kind of counterintuitively heal people by beating the shit out of people, which was kind of like the thing you enjoyed the most out of her. But as you just pointed out, very difficult to take down a Pharah with Brigitte. Maybe you'll get a lucky whip shot if she's, low and within range. But she definitely had a lot of problems with those characters. Less or so Reaper. She was a pretty hard Reaper counter. But like Junkrat and stuff like that, definitely. So do you think that the burst rifle abilities of Baptiste are better than the shield bash flail whip abilities of Brigitte, or just different?
It's depending on who you're facing, really. Because if you're facing a team that's close up with a lot of shields, Baptiste can't shoot through those shields. Brigitte can swing through them. So if you're doing a GOATS comp, you're probably not going to be swapping out the Baptiste for the Brigitte if they have a lot of shields. So it's going to be more situational. If there's a lot of DPS around, like flanking DPS and Pharahs and Junkrats and stuff like that, you're probably going to want Baptiste. Well, maybe not for Reaper. You'll still want a Brigitte. But for the others, you might want a Baptiste. And it's just different. It's depending on who you're facing, really.
Gotcha. So it depends on comp, basically, which is the same for like most heroes if you break it down. All right, what did you learn about the patch? What do you think about any of those buffs and nerfs and stuff so far? Anything stick out?
Anything stick out? I like that Arisa can walk faster while shooting. Also, I think Winston got a change where he does a bit more damage to armor now, and I've really noticed.
I think that's a universal thing, recently. Actually. Yeah, I think most people do more damage. But
it's effective. Armor. It's effective. It's the beam type thing. I think Winston falls under that.
Right. Right.
I've been having a lot of fun with Winston recently, and he seems like slightly more powerful. He's really good against Baptiste, actually. I've noticed that might change in the future, depending on. We have to see what the pros do with him, obviously, before we figure stuff out. But he seemed really good with Baptiste. So pretty much, if I'm not playing Baptiste right now, I'm playing Winston, and I really like whatever they did. It seems to have affected Winston.
Did you?
Also, I played Zen once, and he actually feels really nice. He does a bit more damage without the Discord. Like just his primary fire, he does a bit more damage. He does the same damage with the Discord he did before, and I think what they were saying is that everyone else does a bit less damage with the Discord now. Doesn't matter, but he feels good. Like he feels slightly more powerful. I don't know how to explain it. He just feels better.
Sure, you're not just hitting shots?
I hit shots all the time, motherfucker. Just kidding.
I was gonna say, did you get a chance to try out Wrecking Ball with the armor?
With the shield thing, yes, I'm still bad at him. So
I don't
think it's going to make me any better.
I've been trying a little bit to play Wrecking Ball more, and I really like it, the shield thing, actually. I think it's definitely been a huge improvement to him. I'm really excited to see how it works for Ameng in Chengdu. I think that's going to be to see like how much more brutal he is, because he was brutal without it, but he's going to be something else with that shield edition. Cool. All right, so for those of you that are watching or that are listening, please let us know your thoughts as well. Now the patch is live, and all of you have had a chance to try it out. What do you think of Baptiste? What do you think of all the buffs and nerfs? Are you mad that Reaper's not as reapy as he used to be? Like, let us know in the comments, because we'd love to read about it and talk to you guys. So let's move on a little bit. So I have something fun for the next bit of update on the game itself. So I found this trolling around a while ago on the internet, and I kept it, even though it's been a couple weeks since it actually happened, because it was so fascinating to me. And that is, there was an interview, well, not really an interview, but like several comments made by Jeff Goodman, who's the principal designer of Overwatch. He's right up there with Jeff, a little under Jeff. And basically, he'd had a ton of... Yeah, this is a Geoff, so he's a little fancier.
Geoff.
Yeah, Geoff. And he was talking to a few folks in the forum, the Blizzard forums, about different like changes and balances to characters and how hard that is and that kind of stuff. And he came up with some amazing sort of sentences that I just wanted to share with everybody. So The first thing was they were someone asked him, how is it to try and tune a game like Overwatch where you have just like right now 30 different heroes with different abilities. You have to have it tuned at the high level, at the low level. Like, how do you even begin to go about that? And he said Overwatch is certainly a challenging game to both tune and continually add new and interesting content. When I think back to how the game was in beta or even launch, I feel like we've come a long way since then. Remember, there was a time when McCree's Fan the Hammer did full damage per bullet, Zenyatta had 150 health, Ferris Conch Blast did 700 damage to shields and barriers, Reinhardt's charge had no windup, it would literally just come out instantly and pin and kill anybody, which I thought, it just made me laugh because I was like remembering all that shit from the beta, and it just, I don't know, I just thought that was hilarious. Like, I didn't even realize that Ferris Conch Blast did that much that's crazy. Like, poor Zen. Anyway, so I guess that's why he was 150 health. So some other people were asking about Brigitte. What do you think is the most overpowered balance change the team has made? I'd say at this point, it's pretty clear Brigitte's initial balance was pretty far off the mark. She has been nerfed multiple times since then, and she's still very strong. Another regret is... although I really like the way Hanzo turned out, I somewhat regret increasing his projectile speed specifically. It will always feel great when testing a change like that, and it has helped make him feel a lot more consistent, but he has lost some of what helped make him feel very different to the other heroes. That's not to say you're going to see Hanzo nerfed next patch or anything. It's just one of those retrospective things that I wonder if there was another way to achieve the same goal. What do you think about that, about Hanzo? Do you think it's kind of... I kind of feel like... his projectiles are basically hit scan at this time.
I actually like the increase.
I think it made it more viable for sure, but I do think it's because like he did lose a little bit of being Hanzo in that process.
If they slowed it down again, which again they said they wouldn't do it, I feel like it would be too predictable to dodge. Because right now it's a good thing. Like, you can kind of see him start pulling it back, and then you have to be like, I have to get out of the way. But if he slowed it down, then you'd have a bit more time. That's also kind of a good thing. He'd have to lead his shots more, but I feel like it would kind of take away where he's at right now.
Absolutely.
It's a weird kind of balance, but I think he's in a good place right now, Hanzo is.
Definitely.
I had a big problem with him when he had scatter.
Yeah. Storm can still be frustrating, I think, but, it still boils down to the fact he has to aim it, which
they still have to aim, so...
Yeah, somewhat.
Somewhat.
All right. Speaking of balance, what heroes are you on you and your team's radar for changes in the next few PTR cycles, post Batiste hitting live, or at least who are you guys planning on changing? He said, we're mostly going to see how this patch shakes out since it has a ton of changes in it already. That said, we would like to keep the Junkrat buff at 140 from a pure DPS standpoint, especially against tanks and barriers, but it was just really pushing it once he could one-shot 200 health heroes with a 50% boost, Arisa ult, Nano, Baptiste ult, etc. We experimented with making the grenades no longer explode on enemy impact once they hit a surface as a way to kind of nerf his spam without affecting direct hits, but it felt really weird and kind of broken in a lot of cases. So possibly Junkrat buffs and some different Reaper buffs, since the pure passive healing buff was really problematic at the lower ranks. You think they learned their lesson there? I don't want to see Junkrat buffs. I want to see Junkrat dead. I want to see him dead in a hole.
I
don't
like that dude.
You shouldn't be able to get one shot. Yeah, I mean, like, a Widow has to aim. Like, there's certain things that if you're gonna get one shot, you feel like, yeah, you got to earn this one shot. He doesn't earn it. He just spams the shit out of wherever you are.
He just throws the bombs everywhere.
But yeah. And I do agree with you on the tire. You'll be standing
somewhere and be like, how did I die to Junkrat? And it bounced around like 5 times and then blew up right beside you. And you literally cannot, you can hear it sometimes, but like, it's sometimes you just feel like how did that happen? There's a shield in front of me or something, and it's ridiculous. Anyway,
Yeah.
we'll get on that later.
Yeah, I agree with the tire thing as well. I do think he earns that way too quickly. All right, so here's some of the really, really cool stuff. So out of interest, what are some mechanics currently absent from Overwatch that you'd like to see added or are campaigning to have added? He said, we have a ton of unused abilities and weapon prototypes sitting around. They're generally either something we've tried on a hero in the past and didn't like, or something we did like, but it didn't feel like it fit right on the hero we were testing. Some examples off the top of my head, and this is where it gets super cool. Bomblet gun. We had this gun where the projectiles would stick onto enemies and the impact damage was pretty low. The alternate fire had a fairly long animation time, but would remotely detonate all the little bombs you stuck onto your target. It was pretty fun, but we just need the right hero for it to work with. It was
Junker Queen.
It said it was really fun playing around with it on Tracer, which is who they originally had it attached to. Which I think that's kind of interesting. Especially if it like hurt other people. You could just like bomb someone up, wait till they go back to their team, and then boom.
I could see them doing that with the Junker Queen. Personally, that sounds like a horrific. Maybe that's against Junkrat, but like,
she's pretty cheap.
Junker people seem like they like explosions. Let's be honest.
Invisiwall. This was originally on Sombra, I think. The idea is that you plant this wall that made it so enemies couldn't see you through it, but you and your allies could see just fine. It didn't block bullets like a barrier, it was just for hiding while running past a choke or just throwing into the middle of a fight. It was pretty scary to fight against when all these projectiles were just magically coming out of a thing, but you couldn't see who or where they were being fired from. It was kind of like a high-tech smoke bomb. That is terrifying to me.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying.
That is scary.
Imagine sticking a bastion behind that. Yeah. That's just like a fucking minigun coming at you from behind an invisible... No, let's never do that.
Never.
I always thought it would be cool to try and do some sort of tunneling effect where you could maybe temporarily destroy or remove a small part of a level to move or shoot through. Honestly, it'll probably never happen due to immense tech issues, but it always seemed like it would be cool to see. So I don't like that idea. I think the whole thing of Overwatch is that there is not really much in the way of destructible environment. I think it would make it way too cheap and feel like Call of Duty or something if they did that, or Battlefield. I'm not a fan of that idea. Changing environments. Okay, so on Mercy, would you guys ever consider buffing her HP up to 55 to see if it works as a nice middle ground? It could be the extra oomph some Mercy players miss about her healing, or also would you ever consider giving her an ability on her reload button for her staff which temporarily boosts her healing output? I think it's certainly possible. Overall, her healing output is still higher than the other healers, which she pays for by not being able to split focus and do other things while healing. I'd also love to be able to increase the power of her damage boosting, but it causes a lot of issues with various breakpoints where suddenly X hero can one-shot 200 health heroes. There are other ways to make it feel good without just adding raw damage. We'll see. So, some stuff in the works for Mercy, possibly. How do you feel about Mercy in the meta right now?
I feel like people are going to hate me again. I feel like she should have res removed entirely and get something else that helps her healing out. Because the res feels really cheap still. And her healing output, I don't know if I agree with her healing output being more, because like you see Ana and Baptiste, they can easily out heal her. She can focus heal better, that's for sure. But I feel like they need to do something with her, and I feel like res, like people only play her for res, and it feels really cheap. That's my opinion. I don't know what they would do instead of res.
I think the other major part of her kit is her ability to move, right? Her dodging ability, because she's damn hard to hit. I wonder if they could implement something there, though. But make it better. Like, make her super hard to hit, so she's consistently, like, you know, a thorn in your side when she's on the enemy team. I think that would be something to look at, potentially. Make her like a fairy.
I don't know if they'd be able to do anything
for her ult.
Like
they could make her a little fairy, so no one can shoot her. You'd have to be the best. You have to be the best widow in the world to get a headshot, and she would just float around and
make
still
her constantly giggle the whole time, like. Sorry,
that would be super annoying.
That'd be terrifying. Again,
I think it'd be interesting, though. It would be interesting. I think, you know, just like it would help. Anyway.
People be like, shoot that bitch.
Second from lastly, one huge thing that sits in Sim mains' minds is the teleporter. Are you looking at buffing it or making it more consistent? Bonus question, ever thinking about returning shielding, that's the blue HP, to Sim in some form? I actually looked into the railing stuff with Sim and Reaper ground targeting and worked on it for a while last week. It turns out it's a bit more complicated and is going to require some code changes to try and change it, but I'm hoping we can get something in the next patch if it goes well in playtesting. As far as the teleport build speed, maybe. I totally get the thing where you go to try and make the clutch save and the build time is just so long that they die anyway, but the concern is that we need to make it sure we don't just give your whole team nearly instant teleportation across a huge area. If we're not careful, it could really make old chokes not even worth trying to defend, etc. That said, if something we could try and play test with and see how it goes. And the last one was, Echo has wings? And he said, you're right. Which I thought was kind of neat. So maybe we're going to get another flying hero there when Echo finally hits the...
Flying support.
Flying support. Let's go, baby. I mean, kind of mercy,
Overwatch team, if you're listening, make me fucking Overlord already. I want another mecha, and I want it to be Overlord. And that's it. That's all I have.
Fair enough.
I want another mecha character. I feel like we're going to get one soon because they're working mostly, I think they said, on tanks and healers right now. So I think we might get another mecha. I was thinking the other day, either we're going to get something like Overlord, or we're going to get like a main tank mecha. Like, I could see Demon being a main tank mecha. Like, maybe she deploys a giant shield in front of her or something Reinhardt-like. But, yeah, I want a mecha character. I want a second mecha. That's all I ask for Overwatch.
A second mecha?
Yes.
Need a second mecha. All right.
So I can go back to my roots, my Overwatch roots.
So that is your Overwatch game news for the podcast, and now we're moving on to the professional news. And there's been some really interesting things that have gone on in the last couple weeks there with Owl, as per usual. The first thing we're going to talk about is this ridiculous thing with Custa. So Custa, as you know, is a Valiant player that has been sat on the bench for a while. And people were kind of like saying, why aren't you bringing Custa in? We're losing every fucking match. And, you know, where's he at? And what we got was a message. I think it was Coach Moon that put this message out. But he said, the other 5 players didn't have the level of understanding that could properly utilize Custa's plays. And Custa's playstyle was something that better suited a team that had an overall higher understanding of the meta. So basically, as Reinforce put it, we benched our main support for being too smart for our other 5 players.
Reinforce retweeted someone saying that, but he agreed with it.
Octile said that, and yes. Actually, Reinforce said,
laugh my ass off, get this legend a team.
So, yeah, Custa, too smart. What do you think?
I think Custa's a really smart player, don't get me wrong. I think that's a sign of really, like, not good coaching. I think that, whoever, I think it was Moon.
Coach Moon left.
Whoever I
don't think we have to worry about him too much longer.
Or left or do whatever. I think that's a sign of bad coaching, because if your coach can't get your players, these are high-level players. You're basically just called them all stupid, basically. I don't think that's the case. I don't think... Like, they've got Space. Space is a really good player.
Space is great.
They have a whole bunch of these other good players that were fine last year. Agilities, he was good in the World Cup. All these good players. I don't think it's that they weren't too smart. I think that the coaching was just not there. Custa's a really smart player, and maybe, like, his strategies might be a bit complicated, but I feel like the coaching was just not there to make them understand, or there was some sort of miscommunication.
Do you think there was potentially a language barrier in there?
Language barrier... See, there's a lot of English-speaking players in Valiant, though. Or there's a few. Possibly. But I just think it's a coaching issue. That's what I believe.
So
personally.
Do you think that now Coach Moon is gone, that we might see the Valiant take off a little better in Stage 2?
I hope so, because I don't want any team to be losing every single match. I think Washington even won their last one.
They did. They did.
So Valiant's the only one this season. Even Dragons have won a few. They've won like 3.
And the Valiant were legitimately like a force to be reckoned with for a lot of season
They were.
one.
They were in playoffs last year. They were in the season playoffs last year.
It's really a shame.
I think they got. Were they one of the bye teams? I think they were the Pacific champions. They were one of the bye teams who weren't in the first. Doesn't matter. But they were good. They were actually. You were playing against Valiant. You had to step it up, and now something happened.
Well, the thing
is, are mostly the same players.
Even now, though, if you watch the games, they're still doing all right. Like, they're still playing well. It's just that I feel like they fall at the last hurdle on a lot of games. Like, there was a lot of game 5s for them, which they just lost the coin flip on. And there was some, bad decision making here and there. But ultimately, I don't think they played bad. Like, they,
No.
even like you're now Boston, so, but Philly over here, I was fucking scared for the.
I was too. I watched that match.
They were doing really
and
well, and
like,
we almost gave them their win.
Gonna lose.
Yeah, I mean, we always seem to pull it out of our ass somehow in map 5, but it still was kind
it's
of like
always map 5 and Philly.
It's always map 5.
Even with Fusion University, it's always map 5. It's like a crazy.
Yeah, now with Boston too. Actually, apparently, right now Boston and Philly are drawn for map 5 wins. I think
victories. Yeah,
which is interesting.
They're both scrappy teams.
Scrappy. That's why we like it. All right. So speaking of Washington Justice, as you mentioned a little earlier, we got some news around that, which is one of the more bizarre stories to come out in the last week or so, and that is that Ark, support player for NYXL, pretty much the most dominant force in Overwatch League right now, has been traded to the second most dominant, least dominant force, I guess, which is Washington Justice. So basically, it seems like it may have come as a bit of surprise, but also not. So the things to bear in mind here with this particular piece of news, with the Washington Justice, you have Janice, who was previously NYXL. You also have, who was the other guy? Wizard Hyung, who was also NYXL. And there was a lot of people that said they'd seen Ark actually going to dinner with those two and kind of like having a good time with them, which could have been just because they're ex-friends from his, or ex-teammates, but there did seem to be a lot of people that were like thinking there might be something going on. He also had said all trades are kind of sudden in Korean on his Twitter, and eventually he came out on the English side of Twitter and said, "Thank you very much for all the NYXL fans. Another fun chance to join new Washington Justice squad. Gonna try to keep up with the team. Starting from 15 is first objective, and thanks to all the NYXL teammates, personality, skills, and everything was perfect. Thank you." So a couple questions around this. First of all, how do you think Ark fits into the Washington Justice currently with Phasix and Guido as their supports? Do you think they're just going to swap him in and out, or do you think they're going to bench Phasix?
I think they're going to bring Ark in just because of the experience he has. He's a really strong support. I don't know if how much he did shot calling, but he's really solid at the back line. He's just a very good player, and he's something you want on the team. And with them, like, Washington Justice is kind of looking like NYXL expats, as it were, right now. I think they're going to try to bring the old NYXL style in a bit, and that's what they're doing here with Jonas, Wizard Young, and Ark. And I think when the casters have been watching them, they've been saying that's like a bit NYXL style what they're doing. So they're trying to adapt that and fuse it with these new players and bring them I think they're trying to make this sort of combination.
They have a plan, is what you're saying.
They have a plan.
Whether it works or not, we don't know, but they have a plan.
They have a plan, and it's going to be to take some NYXL stuff and maybe some outside influence and kind of see where that goes. I think they're going to be a very good team in the future, and they're going to be very interesting to watch.
They're definitely putting in the groundwork, and I think this was a huge first step. So I'm honestly excited for it. I think it should be interesting to see how this goes. As long as he's happy with it, like I know he said it was kind of a surprise, but you got to wonder like how much of a surprise something like that can really actually be. I mean, he has to have had an inkling that he would be leaving his team. I don't know, but Yeah, so that was interesting. That kind of came out of nowhere. A lot of NYXL fans were upset, but honestly, I think they're going to be just fine.
They're just fine right now with all their freaking wins.
Yeah, you guys can fucking chill out, okay? All right,
just relax, guys.
Another bit of news for Al. Nate Nasser, who's like, one of the Overwatch busybodies, basically announced officially that Overwatch League is coming home and away. Starting in 2020, all Overwatch League teams will be playing in their home cities. We're super excited to see our original vision brought to life. Thanks to all of our fans for your amazing support. So, first of all, I think this is good. I mean, it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out as far as like not everyone just going to the Barclays Center and playing all the time. Like, I mean, I assume they're going to be like actually
Blizzard
touring
Arena.
to places. Isn't it in the Barclays Arena though? Or do they call
No,
it?
that was just grand finals.
Oh, my bad. Yeah.
Barclays is not even, it's on the opposite side of the continent, Tom. That's New York City.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Blizzard Arena is Burbank, all the way over here.
Burbank might have been the word I was trying to say.
New York City, which is all the way over there.
So either way, I assume this means they're actually going to be like, so like Philly would travel to New York to play New York and vice versa, like a real like sports situation.
Know how it's going. You said something
like
like they're going to keep. I thought they were saying they're going to keep players in the same regions for a while so that there's no jet lag stuff. So I guess they're going to just like schedule them a bunch of times in their own area, and then they'll go all the way out east to the Asian and the European places, I guess.
Because they're not going to play online, because that's just an unfair advantage for ping and everything like that. So they have to actually go to the places. And plus, like, what's the point in having like a stadium if you don't have a place for people to go? You don't just want to go and watch your own team play on the internet. That's just stupid.
Yeah.
You want to be able to, give some BM to the other side. But ultimately, though, what I think is really interesting about this is the fact that this is the first time this has been done in esports, right? Because most esports, you'll have people that'll travel around, but most of the teams aren't really necessarily city-based. They're kind of like, they're team-based. So like Cloud9.
Organization.
Yeah, like Cloud9 is a North American team, but it's not like based in Chicago or whatever. Maybe like they have a training facility somewhere in California or whatever, but it's not, it's like, it's not a team dedicated to a city. So I think this is going to be really cool. If nothing else, it's going to be interesting to see like, just like a bunch of Korean dudes that now have to live in London forever while they're doing that. And it makes me smile thinking about how weird this is going to be. Like, Kip has to live in Guangzhou now, I guess. So that's going to be interesting for him.
That will make it more interesting, though.
It's just like, I like it. I just think it's
like
kind of fun.
In NHL, there's all these Swedish players, Russians, Canadians going to American teams, Americans going to Canadian teams. It's more like other sports. So we're going to see that a lot.
Do you think that's something that that is going to be a big boon to the world of esports? The way that they're laying that out, the groundwork they're putting down.
It will be, because now more people are going to get a chance to actually go to one of these and see one of these matches live. Because as much as I would like to go to the Blizzard Arena,
The
Blizzard Arena, there's no way I'm going to be able to get out there right now this year. So when they start bringing the matches into the cities, like Boston's about 8 hours away, Philly's about 8 hours away, Toronto's only 5 hours away from me by car, and I'm flying everywhere anyway now because I have money to do it. But I'm going to be able to see some matches and actually, see this for myself. And I'm excited. And other people are going to be excited too. They're going to be able to go to these major cities that aren't too far away. Like they can drive, fly, do whatever. Just getting to California is expensive and difficult. It's just
I'm excited to see how it all shakes out, to be honest, because I definitely feel like I can finally potentially make it to a match now, which I'm excited about. And
Philadelphia isn't all that far away. It's
it's even closer. Like Atlanta is closer, so if they ever played Atlanta, I would go to Atlanta to cheer for Philly. But it's just kind of cool that this is something that, like, for a long time, like the Los Angeles scene, they not only did they have two teams, but also they it felt like when you were in LA, this was a very well-known thing, especially for the casters and stuff out there. They always said they got far more recognized in Los Angeles than anywhere else because of how popular Overwatch League was in Los Angeles, where it's being held. So I think that if you do get to a point now, because I know that like there's even like bars and stuff in Philly that are now dedicated esports bars, and they play all the Fusion games, and like they give like happy hour when, you know, it's just cool. It's nice that this is opening up, and we have a lot of teams now. There's a lot of teams in the leagues. There's a lot of opportunity for this to get worldwide adoration, and the more these partnerships grow with like Lego and Disney, and I mean, didn't they say the finals are on like AMC or something? I think this time around, the finals for stage one.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure they did. Yeah.
I know they're on Disney and Disney XD and ESPN, but we already knew that.
Yeah, they have some kind of a deal with AMC, I think, for the finals of the stage one, which is crazy.
I think they're even starting to show Overwatch League. I'm not sure, but I think you could watch it on the TSN app. TSN is like Canadian ESPN. I think it's actually the same company. But they actually have results, at least on their website, for Overwatch League, and they talk about Overwatch League on the website. I haven't actually tried to watch through the app, so I don't know if you can, but it's becoming a thing. People are taking notice.
That's awesome.
Maybe it's because we have two Canadian teams. Well, Canadian,
yeah,
I say.
Yeah, definitely helps. Definitely helps. And then, okay, so the last thing I want to talk about as far as Overwatch League goes is that we're missing it because we're making this podcast right now, but right now the playoffs are live. Currently, I think Vancouver is playing NYXL?
That's not happening yet.
What's that? Something's happening soon?
Vancouver's facing Boston at 11, which is about 40 minutes. I'm not nervous. I'm not nervous. You don't
Seoul,
see me nervous,
isn't it?
right? I don't know. I'm going to check right now.
I think it's Seoul and NYXL then, if I'm not mistaken.
It's Seoul and Seoul is up 2-0
against NYXL.
Against NYXL.
Ooh boy! All right, so that's going to be exciting to see how that turns out. And then Philly, Atlanta tomorrow, and what is it? San Francisco and Toronto. I think it's the other pairing.
San Francisco is facing Toronto, yeah.
Yeah. So the top 8 teams were Vancouver, New York, Philly, Toronto, Atlanta, San Francisco, Seoul, and Boston. The 9th team was Dallas Fuel. Sorry, Jane. And then Gladiators, Guangzhou Charge, Houston, Hangzhou, Shanghai, London, Chengdu, Paris, Washington, Florida, and Los Angeles Valiant at the bottom of the list there. So we scraped in. Philly, wise, happy about that. Boston really scraped in there in that 8th place.
Yeah.
And they earned that shit against
sweep.
Dallas as well. Yeah, that was crazy. But we're at the end. We're at the end of stage 1. Do you feel like it went really fast? Considering the amount of teams.
It does. It did feel like it went by pretty fast. Because I feel like just the other day I was watching that London versus Philly match.
Yeah.
But it also feels like it was pretty far away.
But if you think about it, that we've like almost doubled the amount of teams that were in the league. I feel like there should have been more matches somehow. Like I feel like they kind of lowered the amount of matches considering the amount of teams that were in there. But I guess not everyone had to play everyone. I feel like
it's also because they have to schedule all these matches at the Blizzard Arena. Like they said they reduced the number of matches per week so that players don't get fatigued. But I think players were fine with playing 2 matches a week. It's just that they have to fit. I think they were fitting 3 matches in a day last year, and then they started fitting 4 this year. That could be completely wrong.
I mean,
it's
it's like an 8-hour stint of Overwatch, and not a lot of people have time to sit through all of that. It has to be said, because those matches are long, man. They go like anywhere from an hour and a half to 2.5 hours, depending on how many maps they go.
I've seen like a match start on time maybe once after another match.
Here's the other fun thing. We were talking about this last week when we mentioned that there was this kind of weird clusterfuck of teams beating other teams. And it was like a circle because everyone seemed able to beat everyone else, which I think is this amazing sense of variety. So they've actually put a little graph on here so I can tell you every team that beat everyone, in a circle. So let's start with San Francisco beat Paris, who beat London, who beat Washington, who beat Mayhem, who beat Philly, who beat Atlanta, who beat Toronto, who beat Boston, who beat Outlaws, who beat Shanghai, who beat Shanghai, who beat Chengdu, who beat Guangzhou, who beat Dallas, who beat Seoul, who beat Gladiators, who beat San Francisco. The only teams not a part of that, Vancouver and NYXL beat everybody, and the Valiant beat nobody. So they're the only exceptions to that circle. Otherwise, that's a complete rotation of like just showing how much this year has just been like anybody could win at this point. I thought that was a really cool representation. So throwing that out there. Alrighty. So that's enough owl talk for this week. So let's talk about some personal stuff for a little bit. Those of you that don't know us, hi. My name is Tom. I'm one half of Level 2 Gamers. This is Tigrato. He is kind of a high associate of Level 2 Gamers who helps us with Overwatch stuff, hence the podcast.
I call myself the Level 2 intern at this point.
Level 2 intern is good. So basically, he helps me.
I feel like it should be an official title.
I can make it happen. I have the power. He helps me make guides for characters and other such things that we do for the channel. If you haven't seen any of those, I'll be sure to link them below. But we do character guides to help people main certain people. Go ahead.
There's another one coming soon, guys, I promise. I just need to get over writer's block, and then I will have the Reinhardt one done. And then I'm looking at either Baptiste, if you'll let me have him, or Winston.
You can have Baptiste.
Because I've been playing Winston a lot.
I'd like to see
I've been enjoying Baptiste the past few days, but it's still too early for me to tell if I'm going to be able to make a guide. That's my mistake with the Ashe one, is I was committed to it too early, and I'm just like, I can't do this.
That's okay. It happens.
Maybe later I can tackle it. I might be able to tackle it later, but I'll have to get a group together.
I'm currently working on 2. I'm working on Lucio and Zen. Those are the 2 characters I play the most. I finished my Moira guide. I was pretty happy with it. But yeah, so far we have, gosh, what do we have? We have Diva, we have Mercy, we have Brigitte, we have Tracer, we have Sombra, we have Moira, we have Hanzo. I think that's all of them. So
I can't believe I made a Hanzo guide.
You made a Hanzo guide. Believe it.
If I go back to play him now, I'm going to be shit.
So yeah. So either way, that's some of the stuff that we do outside of this podcast. Now, one of the things that we did with our channel, one thing we do every year, is that on Keegan's birthday, he's the co-host, we will host a 24-hour stream. A lot of the times when we do that, it's either focused heavily on 1 or 2 type of games, or it's just like everything under the sun, some VR thrown in there. There's like 30 people in the room, everyone's drunk, and it's a fucking chaos. So this year, Keegan had a noise complaint lodged against him from last year that meant he wasn't allowed to do it at his house. So he requested if we could do it at mine. I said yes, on the condition that it is just me and you, and possibly David and a few local people that we know. But I didn't want 30 people in here just like losing their ever-loving minds. And then we just said, you know what? We have this Overwatch podcast we're creating. We have this Division podcast we're creating, which, by the way, you should watch Shadecast if you're into Division. It's on our channel as well. Why not make a 24-hour stream based purely on those 2 things, on Overwatch and Division? So we started it out with a ton of Division since that released on the day of the podcast, and then we went into a lot of Overwatch. And one of the funner parts for me during that evening was that Tigrato here invited me with a bunch of his pals to play Serious Goats, I guess is the way to say it. So if you play Overwatch on console or even on a low-tier PC, you don't see a whole lot of goats. You wonder why people are always complaining about goats, and you know it's funny. People act like it actually affects them, but realistically, how often do you play goats? Not very.
Even if you're not in a team, you're probably not going to encounter it.
Right. Solo queue, never see it in solo. Maybe once in a blue moon, someone will get on the mic and go, "Hey, let's go goats." Because
they're not coordinated.
Yeah, because they don't know how to play goats. They just pick the characters. So what James's sort of friends do is they try and very seriously put together a goat squad. Everyone has designated roles. Everyone plays it like super call outs. There's special little things that only they do call outs with. My favorite of which is just goats, which is when they want to go aggro, they just start screaming the name goats, which is hilarious. And
I think we started that same evening.
It was great.
It's just someone started saying it, and we like kind of were like, "Hey, that's actually pretty good."
It fires you up, man. It makes you want to be a goat. So,
yeah.
So we did a little bit of that, and it was cool. It was really cool. I got to play Zen. I was in the boombox position of goats. You got to play a whole lot of Brigitte, which you enjoy. And how was your experience with that? Because we went on a hell of a win streak that night. How did you feel about it?
I thought it was good. That's when I was still. I'm not enjoying Brigitte right now for reasons. I've been playing her too much. I'm in Brig GL. I feel like I'm one of those DPS players in the league where I'm just like, I can do other things even though I don't really play DPS. But that night, it was good. I felt powerful. I was getting those crazy high kill participations.
You had like 93 at one point or something stupid like that.
I don't know if it was on the stream, but I was getting like 80, 70s consistently, sometimes a 90, and it felt good. I felt like I was doing my job and helping everybody out, and it was really nice, and we were all working together. We've had a few problems since then, but we're sorting them out.
Yeah, it was really nice for me because I've never been able to play Overwatch at that level. And even though it's like, when I say at that level, I don't mean like, we are not like grandmasters or anything, but like at that level, I just mean that as a team that is fully coordinated and committed to a particular play style, and everybody is looking out for everybody else. So when you're playing somebody like Zenyatta in a GOATS mix, you have to know that you are, definitely going to be one of the primo enemies number one to take out for the opposition, because you're a slow, floaty fucking robot, right? So knowing that
and that transcendence,
right, and that transcendence is huge for all the graphs. So knowing that I have like people that would be like, we got to get our Zen, like, and it would like back me up and help me out, and then being able to repay that by like putting a huge transcendence out against like a ton of ults that went off, and then like just watching like huge shadows come out, and so, it was so good. I really enjoyed it. So I would say, for those of you that are kind of like wanting to try something that feels different to solo queue or just duo queue, where you feel like you're constantly ending up with throwers and levers or Symmetras and Torbs or whatever it is that you dislike about Overwatch, maybe try and find yourself a group of folks. And they don't have to be like people that you know in real life. They can just be people that you meet casually in the game that you have a good rapport with. Put together a GOATS team and see what happens. Because honestly, even when we were running GOATS at that level, wasn't a lot of people that would run it against us. They would do their own thing, and
when they tried, they wouldn't be able to do it as well as we were.
So we were stomping the shit out of everyone, and it was glorious. There is tape. The tape will have played through several times during our conversation here. I did want to have some recollection of it. We have like 2 hours worth of it, which I don't know if I'm going to release it as something to watch on the channel, because it's kind of weird to just do that. But at the same time, I think it's useful to learn from, and it's kind of like showing you that at any stage, because we were mostly gold, plat, diamond. Like I think you were the only diamond actually, but it was like
I think Gravel might have been as well, but I don't think she was placed, or she was on her alternate account.
Yeah,
maybe.
So I mean,
but
it was gold through diamond
been...
anyway, like gold through diamond, and for that level of play to be able to be a part of something that felt that good, like it literally felt like that was how Overwatch was meant to be played, and that's and I would recommend it to anybody that ever has a chance to try it. So that's all I wanted to say.
Another
about
tip on how to get Overwatch friends.
Yeah,
how I got these Overwatch friends was actually, if you're a fan of the league. I met all these people because one of them, Ratty, saw this jersey. This jersey got the job done. I posted a picture of me in this jersey. It's Bonnie's jersey, so the Canadian support player. You haven't seen him much this season, but because he doesn't, his hero specialties don't really fit in the meta. But we'll see him later in the season, I'm sure. He's actually from Ottawa, which is my city. So I wanted to support him and get this jersey. I posted a picture of me in this jersey. Bonnie retweeted it, and I met Ratty off that retweet, and then I met all these other friends through that. So literally, if you just get into Overwatch, like just join like team Discords, or there's a really good Discord I'm in called Owl Fans United, where we don't make people feel bad about liking a different team than us. We just all talk about the game and the matches and personal stuff as well, like pets and what we're doing throughout the day.
Overwatch is such a mix. The community, isn't it such a mix? Like you can have, because I'm in a couple Facebook groups as well, and there's sometimes when like they're so toxic and you just know that they would be assholes in the game, but you can spot the good ones, I think, as well.
See, an Owl Fans United, that's supposed to be one of the places where there's not as many talk. There's still people who meme and stuff like that, but it's not like
it's in good fun.
It's the good Owl fans. Like you have Squashmon, who's the big London Spitfire hype man. There's Reba. Big for Outlaws, she's supports Bonnie a lot. She also knows Craig and Gerbeagley. Like she knows some people that we know. It's kind of interesting. But yeah, it's got a lot of the good super fans in there, and it's a really positive place.
What's the name again for people that want to join?
Owl Fans United. It's a Discord, so I don't know where they can find a link for it.
If we can find it,
but I'll try to find it. Yeah. I'll try to find it. There's if you search for it on Twitter, I think you'll find someone's post about it.
Okay.
Like Owl Fans United. But they post the link every once in a while. Like if you know who Reba or Squash are, they're going to post the link every once in a while because they go in there as much as they can, especially Reba. She's in there a lot.
For those of you wondering, Reba is the one that posted about Dogman BMing.
Yeah, she was at the arena.
Yeah, BMing on stage, yelling at people. So, cool. All right, and then the last bit of personal stuff I want to talk about. I thought this would be fun. Who is your least favorite hero and why? And I want two. I want one that you play, and they're your least favorite to play, and one that is your least favorite to play against. Go ahead.
To play, I haven't really thought about this. Or I've tried to think about it, I just can't think of it. To play, I really hate playing. I don't like playing Genji because I suck at him. Okay. I feel like literally powerless. Like I'm like, how do these people get these blades? And I try to do the same thing where I like pop it midair and try to dive on them. I just get nothing with the blade. Like, how are these people so good at getting blades? I can't even get like one. If I get one kill off a dragon blade, that's a success for me. Because rarely do I even get one kill with it. And the shurikens too. Like I'm sure if I practice enough, I would be able to be good at him. But I used to hate Genji players so much, but I actually have respect for them now because
good Genji players.
It's difficult. Yeah. It's difficult to get all that stuff down. I still think his slash and his deflect are a bit cheesy. I think his deflect shouldn't reflect damage, but that's a different story. It's still like he's not as big of a problem for me as I used to find him. So,
what about
I
to
really don't
play
like
against?
Fuck Junkrat. Junkrat's annoying. He just throws bombs all over the place. He doesn't even necessarily need to be able to see where he's shooting, and it seems that he gets free kills. And sometimes you have to, if you're a support, you can't really be watching where the fire is coming from because you have too many other things to go on, you just get killed, which you could argue is just bad awareness, but sometimes you have to be aware of all these other things, and when there's just bombs, there's only one hero who seems to do these bombs from above other than Pharah. But with Pharah, you can at least see her. Junkrat can literally just fire these things over buildings and objects, and you can't see him, but there's just these projectiles just falling from the sky. It's just annoying. He's just an annoying hero. And then he throws his mine down to get free kills, and his tire's annoying. He's just an annoying character.
Okay. I'll take that. For me, I think to play, it's Doomfist. And here's the thing. I like Doomfist a lot. Like, I really want to be a good Doomfist. I just can't. I've tried so many times to be a good Doomfist. I think I've gone on...
That's how I feel famine.
I've gone on precisely one tear with Doomfist, and I saved it because it was like proof that I could play him at some point in my existence. I killed like 5 people in a row, but it was just like, there's something about his ebb and flow of the fight where you really have to know what to do next. If you go into a fight with no idea what you're doing next, then you're gonna die immediately. So it's almost like you have to play Doomfist like you play a Street Fighter character. It's kind of like you have to know what your follow-up is and what your combo is and what your escape is, and have stuff like have your cooldowns like perfectly matched so that you don't get caught out and you can get out of trouble before it gets too bad. And we've played against some hella good Doomfist lately that just destroyed our entire team, and it's especially since that patch. But man, like he is such a good character, I think, but I'm just so bad at him, and it frustrates the crap out of me. So I dislike it when I get lumped with Doomfist and mystery heroes. I always want to pop off, and I can't, and I hate it. As for play against, I'm very much up there with you on Junkrat. I think he's a trash character, and I can't stand him. No offense to Junkrat mains. You guys are good at what you do. Sorry, I got something on my screen there. You guys are great at what you do. I just fucking hate playing against him because I feel so cheap when I get killed by him. And then I think even more so than Junkrat, Reaper, but I have one bigger than Reaper, because Reaper's not so much of a problem now since they've nerfed that healing a little bit. Fucking Bastion, dude. Fucking Bastion.
I forgot about him.
I would be perfectly fine if they took him out of the game. Like, don't get me wrong, as a character, very lovable. He's a cute, ex-war robot gone hippie with a little bird. But at the same time, like, the fact that the amount of games that me and you have had where we'll be crushing everything and then they pull out a Bastion, and for whatever reason, our team can't get it together enough to just, like, handle this one fucking character, no matter what we do. And it's so frustrating, and I know that, like,
I don't know what's gonna work, so let's play Bastion. That's the strategy.
It's a
like,
cop-out, dude. It's
just
it's a cop-out. It's like, well, everything else is fucked, so why don't we try a minigun on a turret? It
doesn't take, like, too much coordination, but it still takes coordination. And when you're solo queuing, the likelihood that your team's going to be coordinated at all,
not
low.
so much. Yeah.
Especially the lower down the tiers you get, it gets even worse.
What's your go-to for taking on a Bastion? Because I know a lot of people out there have, like, specific
if I'm on support and I'm not, like, the main, like, healing effort, I usually go to Zen, because Zen can discord him and also shoot him from afar. Ana can also be useful because Ana can sleep him. If you're DPS, Sombra is usually pretty good if she can get behind and hack him and keep hacking him and keep him out of that sentry form. Some people go far, but that's not really a good idea. Don't go far.
He will melt the fire. Yeah.
What
do you think of Roadhog?
Roadhog is actually pretty good as well. If Roadhog if the shields can be broken to hook that guy, he's going to go down, or he's going to not be able to do what he needs to do, and something else is going to die, which wins you the team fight. So Roadhog's pretty good. I forgot about Tracer. Tracer can pulse bomb him, but he needs to not be full health.
Do you know what I've used? And it's kind of like, it's not an ideal situation, but I legit have done this because I've been that mad before. If I'm on Reinhardt and the team isn't doing anything, I will find high ground and I will charge at that Bastion from high ground. Just smash his ass right off that fucking thing into a wall and hack away. I don't care if I die. I'm taking the Bastion with me. That's not an ideal tactic, by the way. That's just pure anger. Not recommended, but satisfying nonetheless. Yeah, no, I actually think Zen is one of the most powerful people against him. Yeah.
Another tank that could be useful if your team supports you and your shield doesn't get burnt down very quickly, Arisa, because Arisa can pull him around. But we're going to talk more about Arisa after.
Yes, and also she used to be able to pull his ass in turret mode or sentry mode, and she can't do that anymore, and I think they should bring that back. I think she should be able to yank him in sentry mode.
I feel like they can still do that.
No, they nerfed it. She can't do it anymore.
Because I did it the other day.
Unless they brought it back.
I'm pretty sure I did it the other day. I don't think they ever took that away. I'm not sure.
I swear to God, dude, I tried it so many times. We'll look it up. We'll look it up for later.
You have to do it. You have to be really good at doing it. But I don't think they took that away. I think that's still a thing.
All right. Well, I beg to differ, but we'll check into it.
I could test it right
now. But yeah, so Bastion is he's one character that I would be perfectly happy if he was removed from the game forever. Again, no offense, Bastion mains. We love everybody equally here. We just hate your characters. So
that's not your fault. That's
not your fault. Not your fault. You like a character that melts people. I would too. So okay, so let's talk about our deep dive and our hero. And this week we're going to dig into, as we've mentioned a couple times so far, Arisa. Now Arisa is the youngest member of Overwatch, believe it or not. She's also the youngest team member. Do you know how old Arisa is?
No. How old is she?
She is 1 month old.
Sorry, note, I'm pretty sure Seoul just beat NYXL.
Oh, nice. That's crazy. NYXL, why do you choke in the playoffs?
It's done!
All right.
Sorry.
So, yeah, Arisa, 1 month old. Now, the story of Arisa is long and arduous, but essentially, she if you ever got a chance to play the archive event, the very first archive event, what was that one called? What was that?
It's called Uprising.
Uprising, perfect, thank you. So if you got a chance to play Uprising, you would have run into an Arisa or two, and a Bastion or two, actually, while we're talking about it, because they were enemy omnics, essentially. They were built for war, and they were built to take out people. So Arisa is a newly created omnic who has not only a heart and personality, but she was urged to become a hero by her creator, who is called Effie. You may have heard her mention Effie several times. Everyone always asks who the fuck Effie is.
Would not be happy.
Yeah, Ify would not be happy. And her full name is Ify Oladeli. So Arisa strives to right wrongs and act as the hero the world needs. While her relative inexperience can make her an occasional liability, Ify's optimism and willingness to make modifications to Arisa's adaptive artificial intelligence have always been able to set things right. While Arisa has much to learn about the world and its functionality, Arisa stands ready to protect both Ify and Numbani with her growing sense of honor and duty. She also really likes Lucio's music, and she does not dream in the manner that humans do, if you've been paying attention to any of the voice lines in-game as well.
She also wants to learn about the Iris.
She does. I think she'd have a good time learning about the Iris. I want to learn about the goddamn Iris. Arisa was created by
Overwatch.
Arisa was created by Numbani local and child genius Ify Odelele from pieces of dismantled OR-15 defense robots in the wake of Doomfist's attack on the Numbani airport, with the OR-15 being initially created to protect Numbani from the many threats it faced. The aftermath of Doomfist's attack resulted in the decommissioning of the OR-15 and a staggering drop in public confidence. Never giving up hope in the OR-15's original purpose and believing that Numbani needed a protector, Ify acquired one of the decommissioned bots for sale by the civil government using the bulk of her grant money received by the Adaway Foundation. Ify repaired and reconfigured the robot and installed it a personality core that she designed herself. She then named her new creation Orisa, which is the OR-15 with an A on the end, in case you were wondering. So let's talk about her abilities real quick. So her hand cannon, if you will, is called the Fusion Driver. It's a linear projectile damage weapon. It feels like it could be a hit scan, but it's not. You do have to lead your shots a little bit. And it has projectile speed of about 80 meters per second and the rate of fire 12 rounds per second. Reload time is 2.55 seconds, which is one of the worst of any character in Overwatch, probably with the exception of a full reload of Ash's gun, which takes like a year. And she has 150 rounds of ammo as well. What do we think about her main primary fire?
It's interesting, that's for sure. I like it because she's the only main tank that shoots a gun. That sets her apart from Winston. Winston has the Tesla cannon, which is just lightning. And then Reinhardt doesn't have a gun at all. He just swings a giant-ass hammer at people. So Arisa's set apart from that by feeling almost a little bit like Bastion in recon mode. I had to think about what it's called a little bit. She can walk around and shoot, and she can do this through her shield. So it sets her apart a bit, and you do have to lead the shots a bit, which adds another interesting dynamic. But if you land a bunch of those shots to the head repeatedly, firstly, it sounds freaking awesome because all you hear is and secondly, it does a ton of damage, and it's really satisfying. So she brings a different dynamic, mechanical element to main tanking that you wouldn't have on the other two.
I like running her on defense for that reason a lot. I feel like when you're on attack, you almost want Reinhardt because you can like push forward and you get in their face and you kind of like land those fat shatters and stuff. But with Arisa, you feel like you're kind of like, boom, making a stand. Like I'm staying right here and I can aim at you from wherever the fuck you are, you know?
she's all about fortifying, which is literally one of her ability names is Fortify. So she's mostly good, yes, for the defense and also payload. She's pretty good at escorting payloads.
Yeah, bunker comps. She's the queen of the bunker comp. One of her other abilities is Halt. So Halt is a linear projectile as well. It travels 20 meters per second and has an area of effect of 7.5 meters in a radius around it with an 8-second cooldown. So for those of you that don't know, Halt, when fired, can be fired, by the way, at the same time you're firing your main gun, so you don't have to like choose one or the other. You can keep firing your main gun and Halt at the same time. Halt is a 2-button experience, which when I started Overwatch, I did not know. I thought I had to fire it at something like a wall or whatever to bring people in, and I was like, this is shit. Like, I don't know why this ability exists.
That took me a little while to figure out too.
Yeah.
I don't know how. I think it might have been like, I don't know if it was like a week or a month, but I saw people detonating it early. I'm like, what the fuck are they doing?
It was like a couple months.
So I'm like,
took me.
What happens if I press the button? Well, and I'm like, oh,
this is a whole new world.
The people who make your guides, they're stupid too. Just saying.
So
just saying, audience.
The Halt is primarily used for 2 things. One, to group people together. For, let's say, a Roadhog hook or Hanzo dragons or something that's going to fuck up one area. It's especially fun in conjunction with Hammond's Mines, by the way, if you haven't used that one yet. Everyone runs away from the mines and you go, nope, come back in here, because they like land on them as they come back in. And secondly, for putting people in deep, dark wells and or over barriers for environmental kills.
Or pulling them off high ground.
Yeah, that's a good move too. But yeah, Halt is essentially a displacement tool. So you are able to suck people into oblivion by just halting them off edges. Go ahead.
There's a third thing we forgot.
Oh, go ahead.
Keeping escaping enemies from escaping.
That's true.
That's another big thing.
That is true. It's really good for bringing a Tracer, a Lucio, or a Baby Diva to exactly where you want to shoot. Because I will just keep a line of fire and then halt them into the line of fire. And because it takes like maybe a second for them to readjust after they land from the halt, you can usually get a good amount of rounds in and finish them off at that time as well. So really fun ability. But yes, you press it once to trigger it, press it again to actually like make the halt happen. And you'll know how many people you have because you're going to have little tentacles that kind of come off the halt ball that shows that you have like grabbed this many people. So if you're ever trying to get people in the well and Ilios, the best thing to do is to fire it towards the well, wait until you see a couple tentacles, and then halt. And then hopefully you'll drag people into the well, into their doom. By the way, Genji can use Deflect to redirect the orb towards Orisa. However, if it's not reactivated, it will not be harmful to her. I think that's interesting. Imagine halting your own self into a well. That would be very embarrassing.
That'd be fucking hilarious, let's be honest.
Very, very funny. Okay, so next up, Fortify. So Fortify makes Arisa a golden goddess, and it gives her a damage reduction of 50%. Duration is 4 seconds. Cooldown is 10 seconds. So here's some fun stuff that, you know, might be worth knowing. The following abilities deal damage to a fortified Arisa, but do not apply stun, knockback, or slowdown. Sleep Dart, Coach Gun, Bob's Charge, Tank Configuration Bastion, Rocket Flail with Brigitte, Boosters, Self-Destruct, and Cole Mech from Diva, Rising Uppercut, Seismic Slam, Rocket Punch, and Meteor Strike from Doomfist, Frag Launcher, Concussion Mine, and Steel Trap from Junkrat, Soundwave from Lucio, Endothermic Blaster or Blizzard from May, Flashbang from McCree, Rocket Launcher from Farah, Rocket Hammer and Earth Shatter from Reinhardt, Whole Hog from Roadhog, Helix Rockets from Soldier 76, Sentry Turrets from Symmetra, Primal Rage Melee Attacks and Jump Pack from Winston, Grappling Claw, Pile Driver, and Minefield from Wrecking Bull, and Particle Cannon and Graviton Surge from Zarya. They will all hurt Arisa, but they won't actually affect her movement. So she becomes CC prone when she's, or I guess CC immune is a better word. The following abilities have no effect on a fortified Arisa. Arisa's Halt, Farah's Concussive Blast, Reinhardt's Charge, and Roadhog's Chain Hook. Arisa can still be hacked by Sombra while using Fortify, but this will not interrupt the ability, and cooldown begins after the effect expires. So, Thoughts on Fortify?
I love it.
Yeah,
especially when you have on the enemy team, if you know that the Reinhardt is going to make crazy, stupid charges specifically at you when you're Arisa, you can just wait for him. Be like, "Come at me, bro. Come at me." And as soon as he is just about in front of you, you activate that Fortify, and he's like, "Shit."
Yeah.
He's like, you have him right where you want him. He's away from his team. You can halt him closer to you if he tries to escape, if he doesn't have a shield up. But let's be honest, your team, if they're smart, are going to dive on that motherfucker. And it's really good. Like, sometimes people will try to yank the main tank off stuff, and you'll just be like, nope, I'm staying right here.
Yeah. I think it's awesome
really
for that.
Very, very nice.
It's one of my favorite anti-Reinhardt moves, is just to wait for him to charge Fortify and then light him up. I think that's really... And plus, you're getting 50% damage reduction the whole time, so even if he's swinging at you, then you're going to still probably outlast him as long as you got half-decent aim. I think it's also really clutch for Blizzard and Graf.
Yep.
Because you can just walk right out of it, you know? If you're ever in a Graviton Surge as Arisa and you think, oh no, I'm helpless, just Fortify, baby, and walk backwards. You're good. Get out of there. Throw your shield in front of it. Make it easy, you know? So yeah, really, really cool ability. Big fan of that. One of her, arguably the most useful ability she has, is the Protective Barrier. Protective Barrier is an arcing projectile, health of 900, duration is 20 seconds, and cooldown is 8 seconds. So, yeah, the barrier is essentially, it's interesting because it brings a completely different dynamic than Reinhardt's shield. Because Reinhardt's shield is attached to him. It's very easy to drop. If he needs to do anything, he has to drop it to do the things. Arisa doesn't have to do that. Arisa can place her barrier wherever she feels like, and then she can, what they call shield dance around it. So if someone gets too close, you just kind of like cross in and out of it a little bit. Techniques. Yeah. And it's like your own personal little Symmetra wall. But also, you know, it kind of allows you to set other people up for success as well, because you don't necessarily need it as Arisa. So you can just put it in front of Bastion and then just go somewhere else and attack from a different angle. And if it breaks, and put it back in front of Bastion and go back to what you were doing. Also, there's a nice little technique I actually learned from Muma, where if you... basically, the shield allows you to pump another one out as soon as it's off cooldown, which is really quickly. So if you have a shield that's still up, but you want to be able to like make it so that you can replace it, but not necessarily right away, you could shoot one directly in the air, and by the time this one in front of you has broken, the other one will just land, but your cooldown is already set for like another one. So you basically have like infinity barriers if you time that right and accurately, which is not the easiest thing to do, but I thought it was a cool technique.
Muma's a freaking legend, let's be honest.
He is a legend. He is a legend. And one of the more fun things about her thing is it can be attached to movable objects. If you really want to have some fun, put one on a basketball. That's
terrifying. I've seen it.
Yeah, then punch it. See what happens. Yeah, really good for payload. On attack, it's kind of interesting because you have to be very kind of organized. You have to like throw it in front of you a little bit and then walk forward, and then throw it in front of you a little bit and walk forward. So it's a slow, methodical approach as opposed to Reinhardt's just kind of like, let's, you know, hold forward and hope for the best. But they're probably going to charge when they get bored anyway. So yeah, projectile barrier, super useful. And then our ultimate is Supercharger. So Supercharger, 200 health, is a little bongo that she slams down. Has a 50% damage boost, 25-meter radius, takes 1 second to cast, and lasts for 15 seconds. And basically, she passively generates her ult charge for 1% every 3 seconds. It can be destroyed by enemies, which is the only sucky part about it. Can be hacked by Sombra as well. The damage boost effect will stack with Ana's nano boost and Mercy's damage boost, and enemy barriers break line of sight. So if someone is behind a barrier, they will no longer get that juicy damage boost. What do you think about bongos?
It's funny. The ability sounds like it's a super powerful tool, and it is when used right, but your team has to capitalize on it firstly. But it's not like super like this big all of a sudden, wow, we're going to be able to take out this Reinhardt shield super quickly now. Sometimes it works, but again, you have to have multiple people doing that. It's more of just let's help deal with this enemy push or try to it's not really good for pushing yourself because you are dropping the bongo, but it's more just an aid to win a team fight more or less than getting a team kill.
It's kind of like an addition to your fortification, right? So you have your bunker comp or whatever that you're set up and the team's making a big push towards you. You can just help like ebb the flow of that team fight your way by placing that somewhere. It's
basically an ability where they're saying we're going to like maybe get a kill or two off this ability, but not necessarily wipe the whole team. It's just going to be enough to get us through.
Absolutely not a team wipe ult, but is good for burning down like shields and such, and also just good for trying to get like 1 or 2 quick kills, especially with characters around you like Junkrat or Reaper or whatever, where it's really gonna like put them to work. I like it. I mean, it's definitely I like that it charges faster now than it used to. It definitely feels like it charges up a lot better. You usually have it by second team fight for me. And I think one of the things to keep in mind when you're utilizing the bongo is that it is destroyable. So a lot of folks, they use it haphazardly. They throw it in front of them, put a shield in front of it, and just kind of like hope that that's enough to look after it. Enemies will go for that when they see it. So the best thing to do is to hide it, put it behind a corner, but so that it still reaches you and your teammates. Like, so they have to fucking work for it at least if they're trying to take it out. You know, give it a little bit of extra protection if you can. I always try and find a little cubbyhole somewhere to stick it in so it can still reach everybody, but it's not easily taken out by like a Junkrat or a Hanzo or whatever. So I do like that a lot. Alrighty, so let's talk a little bit about trivia for Arisa before we go into it.
There's something I want to talk about Arisa mechanic-wise. That's to do for Shield. And everyone talks about, you know, when people talk about Ryan, especially in the League, it's all about Ryan mind games. There's exactly the same thing with Arisa, in that because the shield's not movable, you kind of want the enemy Arisa to put their shield too close to you and far away from them. And then what you do is you walk through that shield and put your shields so that they can't use their shield, and then you just kill them.
Yeah.
So that's an interesting little dynamic. If you're ever playing against an Arisa, kind of try to watch for that. If an Arisa puts her shield just a bit too far forward, try to capitalize on that. Put your shield behind it so you make use of that shield, and your team makes use of your shield. Yeah. It's really nice. You have to keep in mind that you can't shoot through their shield if it is in front of you. But if you're able to put your shield past it or get it through enough that you and a couple of allies can shoot through it, it's really nice.
And you have to move fast. There's like an instant fear in the other Arisa's eyes when they realize they pushed their shield too far forward. So if you all walk up as a unit past the shield and drop yours, then...
And halt them. Halt them back.
Yeah, they can't really do a whole lot until the shield regens for another cast. But
like if they realize it and they start backing off, you can also halt them back. Even if you don't get the Arisa, you might get some healers or stuff like that.
Solid point. All right, so let's talk a little bit about some fun kind of things for Arisa before we dig into the deeper stuff. So Arisa is Hero 24 and was the third new hero added to the game. In addition to referring to the OR15 model number, Arisa's name is likely a reference to the Orisa, spirits reflecting one of the manifestations of the supreme divinity of the Yoruba religion, given Ife Odalele's Yoruba heritage. Being only 1 month old, Arisa is the youngest hero in Overwatch. In January 2017, a 4chan user named BlizzyLeaks divulged alleged preliminary details about the 24th hero and the upcoming Lunar New Year event, indicating that the next hero, developed using the prototype name Ancora, would be a quadrupedal omnic from Numbani with a West African accent and would act as an anchor tank similar to Reinhardt. Community speculation concerning the 24th hero centered primarily around the long-requested Doomfist, stemming from a fan-initiated campaign for actor Terry Crews to voice the hero. However, in a post on the official Overwatch forums, game director Jeff Kaplan stated that 24 is not who you think it is. Following this, fans turned to the then unconfirmed January 2017 leak, speculating that the quadrupedal omnic may refer to one of the various spider tank omnics depicted in the game's cinematics and concept art. During the 2017 DICE Summit in Las Vegas, Jeff Kaplan also displayed early pieces of concept art for Overwatch depicting Recluse, a humanoid female hero wearing a mechanical harness with 4 spider-like limbs, and specified that she was also not the hero you think it is. So, before I move on with that, I wanted to talk about Recluse, because I did some research into her. Let me just say, she was fucking dope. I want to see Recluse in this game. Okay, so Recluse, bear with me here, because I really want this to happen. Recluse is literally like a woman that has bio structural spider limbs that have like giant pod wing things on them. She had a beam coming out of her fucking mouth, and she was taller than like a main tank. She was huge, right? Really tall. And she had some kind of weird like ghost thing that was potentially one of her ults, like this big head that just floats behind her. She was terrifying. Absolutely terrifying. Now, the thing I thought about it, and the concept art I'll show you guys if you're watching the video. If not, please do click the links that are in the description. I do have the link for Recluse in here. This was back when Overwatch was called Titan. So basically...
It was called Titan?
Originally, yeah. So
I thought it was called Prometheus.
That too.
At one point.
Oh, so basically Titan turned into Prometheus, which then turned into Overwatch. So
okay.
It's been a few things.
Today I learned.
Yeah. So, so in addition to her mouth beam ability, it appeared she had the ability to project shields and summon waves of robotic drones. But if you look at her, terrifying. Big spider lady. Now, my thought was, is she what eventually became Widowmaker? Because it would be kind of weird to have two spider-based heroes in the game. Widowmaker is definitely like a lot of what her thing is, as being kind of a spider, although she doesn't have, extra legs or anything. That would be real creepy. But my thought was that potentially, like, I don't know if they would do a hero like that anymore, because if you remember, some of the original concept art for Moira had her with like 4 tentacles on her back, which, by the way, again, super dope, Blizzard. What are you doing? But they took it away because they said it was just too hard to animate. So my thought is, well, if that shit's too hard to animate, giant fucking spider lady's going to be a nightmare. Plus, going through like doorways and stuff, like, does she crouch down? Like, how do you... It's weird. So... yeah, I'm a bit sad about that, but if you check out the Recluse on the Overwatch wiki,
that's just how some of the heroes have worked. I think that actually Hanzo and Genji were originally just one character, and they kind of
split him into two.
Yeah,
you're right.
He was originally just Hanzo, and he actually looked more like Genji. I'm pretty sure in the concept art. I've seen it somewhere. Mercy also wasn't called Mercy. She was called like Angelica or something. And Mercy was a different hero entirely who looked kind of like McCree, actually. But it's interesting. You have to look at the... You guys have to look at all this stuff. It's interesting. But they do that. They kind of split heroes. So that sounds kind of like what they might have done here is they gave the spider aspects to Widowmaker and they took kind of the legs to Orisa. That might be what they did.
It's a good call. Yeah, that's entirely possible. 2 more quick fun facts for you. Arisa is the only hero in the game whose legs can be seen in first person. There you go. And
it's cute. You can see her little hooves.
Lastly, Arisa's in-house testing appearance was that of Gothic Zarya holding Bastion's minigun from Sentry configuration. So you can imagine that was their testing for Orisa, was Gothic Zarya with a Bastion minigun in her hand. God, don't ever make that a character. Why did they choose Gothic Zarya too?
No, that's amazing though, if you think about it. Because can you just imagine this really metal Zarya like...
It's some supreme wreckage going on there. I don't know.
Like the special anthem.
I don't know what the thought was there. I thought it was fun. Alrighty, so let's move into
Blizzard
our
make a skin for Arisa, which is literally just that.
Make it so. Goth Arisa, that would be incredible. All right, so speaking of our favorite things about our favorite Omnic lady, by the way, I do love that they represented Arisa on all of the International Women's Day photos for Overwatch. That was a job well done. They fucking left Moira off a lot of them, which is
well, they only had the hero.
Maybe
they only had the hero women, the
maybe.
good side women. I don't know why they had that idea, but I guess they only want the women that were inherently good for the...
Yeah, they left Ashe and Symmetra off that one, too. That's a good point. Alrighty. Favorite voice lines?
Symmetra's kind of in this gray area, but that's a different area.
Sorry. Lucio doesn't like her, and that's good enough for me. Favorite voice lines?
She might turn around. She might turn around.
I think she might, actually.
That will be later on in the story, I'm sure. Anyway.
So, favorite voice lines, fucker. Hit me with it. What's your favorite Arisa voice line?
See,
and you have to do it in the Arisa voice. We've already established that now.
I have combinations. I have a combination that I like.
Go ahead.
And it's using the current outlook. So I do current outlook, current outlook, current outlook. Evie will not be happy about these.
Good combo. Anything else?
Also, I have a bad feeling about this. That's pretty good.
That's not bad. That's a good
And
accent.
then honorable mentions to error 404 sarcasm module not found. And what's another good one? I used to use one all the time. I forget what it was. I don't remember it right now. Oh, annual performance analysis.
Yeah. Annual
That's another
performance
funny one, especially if you
analysis.
spam it,
Annual
because she does
performance
it-
analysis. Yeah, that's a good one.
She says it differently every time.
Yeah, I actually like some of the back and forth that she has with other characters. I like it when she talks to Zarya about the graviton gun, and Zarya's just like, I don't fucking care.
Your compliment is unwanted.
Yeah. So my favorite voice lines for Arisa, no barking is one of my favorites. I think that's great. And also, do you need a hug? It's a good one. That's whenever like I team wipe a team, I always have to break that one out. It's one of my favorites.
There's another one that's good. I'm sorry, but I can't do that, which is a clear reference to
Hal.
What's the movie? Is it the 2001: A Space Odyssey?
Yeah, Hal.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave. So some fun voice lines. She could do. I think she needs better voice lines. I think she has some good ones.
She's got some good ones. I think
she
they're
needs
going to do
better.
more.
They could do better. Favorite skins.
She's cute. Favorite skins.
Yeah.
So for the league, for league skins right now, I really like the Fusion one. Looks really good on her. Boston Uprising looks very good on her, and Toronto Defiant also looks pretty good on her. For non-league skins, I don't really like a lot of her skins. The OR14 and OR15 are cool, but she doesn't have the eyes. The eyes really make Arisa. Is those eye animations, if you ever look at them, they're really impressive, and they're really good at showing emotion on a robot. Well, she does have emotion because she has that personality core, but like her eyes actually show her emotion. So any character or any skin that shows those eyes it's good to have that. I don't like the OR14 and OR15 ones because of that. Other than that, I do, and also there's that one that's StarCraft inspired. You also don't see her eyes, so I don't like that. I do like carbon fiber. That's probably my favorite league one, but I really like the league ones.
Do you like,
the
like Egyptian inspired one? She looks like a sort of a sphinx.
That's the StarCraft.
Oh, that's the StarCraft one?
Yeah. She doesn't. Her eyes don't show, so I don't like it. I also don't like the gold is kind of garish. I don't.
My favorite too. Definitely, really a big fan of the Lunar New Year one that just came out, where she has the big red face and the big white shaggies everywhere.
That one's kind of cool.
Really happy with that one.
At first, I didn't like it.
It's kind of scary looking. It doesn't really fit her personality, but at the same time, I'm just like happy she got a kind of like a skin that really changed how she looked, because a lot of them don't change it that much.
She still has the eyes.
And she still has the eyes. But my overall favorite is the Forest Sprite one. That's absolutely my favorite, where she has like little mushroom spores growing on her gun and stuff. I think that's really cute.
She looks like a Spriggan from Elder Scrolls. Anyone who's ever played Elder Scrolls, she actually looks a lot like a Spriggan in that.
Big metallic Spriggan. but yeah, that's one of my favorites for her. I think that's probably my most favorite, although I am rocking the Lunar New Year right now, just because it was the last one. Let's talk about her place in the meta. Does she have a place in the meta right now?
At the moment, pretty much I think they still use her. They use her mostly on control, and it's usually a control where you can pull people off the map. So you're looking at Ilios Well and Nepal Sanctum. So really, it's mostly for the environmentals that you want her. And
situational
now in the meta, it's very situational. But if you're looking at lower tiers, she's very good for payload. She's very good for payload. And I think they've actually been using her in the league on Route 66 more towards the beginning. That's usually on the defense.
Used to use her a lot more last year. Before Goats, she was one of the go-tos for like Anubis Point A, like a lot of maps. She would
usually on the defense.
Do you feel like if let's say that, and I don't think it's necessarily going to happen, but let's say that Batiste kind of really does affect Goats somehow, or the other patch changes affect Goats somehow. Do you think that she would be? Do you think if Bunker Comp would become a meta, that she would be like the must-have for that?
Well, she would be, because she's the She creates the bunker, as
Right.
it were.
I'm kind of thinking
But I don't know if
I mean, a lot of people
I
are
don't know
saying
if
that
that's
might
ever
be
going
the
to become a
next.
meta.
There's a lot of people that are suggesting it might be the next thing after goats, mostly because of the Baptiste, because he can just rain down health on that bunker, and if it looks like it's going to get taken out, he can put his immortality field down, and then they survive the onslaught of like a diva bomb or whatever. So there's a lot of talk about it potentially being a meta.
But I see at the higher levels, people are going to have the coordination to take out that thing. And I'm even seeing it starting when I'm playing now, is that people, the first thing they do when you put down that field is they start shooting it.
Yeah.
So they try to take it out. It's almost a competition to see whose thing can get taken out first. So we'll see how that plays out. I don't see bunkers becoming a thing all the time, but we might see it more often than we used to, for sure.
Gotcha. And lastly, concerning Arisa, what would be a tweak or two that you would make to her in order to improve her without breaking her?
I would here's the thing I would do. I would probably give her shield a bit more health, but increase the cooldown on it. So that it would be a nice little balance. Because sometimes it feels like you put that shield down and it immediately gets broken. But if you had a bit more health... See, that's a weird little change.
There's other times, though, that you feel like it never goes away. By the time you do break
it never goes away.
There's just like another one.
So I'm not really sure how you would do it.
I think it starts with her ult.
Maybe tweak damage. Maybe tweak the percentage on the damage for the ult. Tweak her regular damage.
I think...
Like, there's not a lot I think they need to do to her, but...
I mean, she's relatively balanced, but she could use a little
They did just increase her walking speed.
Yeah,
they did just increase her walking speed while firing, which was that was something, I didn't really have a problem with it before, but I like it a lot better from the few times I've played her. I'm like, this is nice.
Yeah.
And it will let you fight Arisas who place their shields.
Good quality of life change, for sure.
So yeah, it's a nice quality of life change, but I don't think there's a lot they really need to do for her, personally.
I think I'd like to see that ult do more than just give a damage boost. I'd like to see it do a damage reduction as well, I think. Like, have it be, like, to give it the impact that I think it deserves. Because I don't think anyone would argue that it's one of the most underwhelming ultimates in the game. Like you said, like, you probably get a kill or two out of it if you're lucky, but then that doesn't feel anywhere near as powerful as some of these other ultimates.
It's largely a counter play.
Right.
Rather than an active play.
So maybe if there was something else they could do to it, like even if it was just like give you a little bit of shield or just like add a secondary ability to the ultimate. Don't just make it 50% damage boost. Add some kind of defensive element to it as well. It doesn't have to be damage reduction. It could be just a little bit like 100 shield or something, but just like something to give you a little bit more of an edge in that fight so you have more of a likelihood of actually wiping or taking out like 4 members instead of 2. I think that would be the only quality of life change I'd like to see to her that I think would make her like pretty formidable, because then you would know that like when her ult's coming up, okay guys, we have a 1 team fight here. Whereas now if her ult's coming up, it's more like maybe we'll survive this team fight here.
And if you're facing Arisa, you're like, oh, we don't have to worry about our supercharger.
Right.
Just wait it out.
Yeah, just wait
just
it
make
out,
her pull
or
it, wait it out, or just destroy it.
Shoot it, yeah. So yeah, I think that would be cool. Like if they actually gave some kind of sustenance to the team, especially if she's in a bunker comp situation, because you want your team to be able to survive an onslaught. So definitely being able to shoot better is good. But like even with Batiste's ult, right? That's a 50% damage increase, but it's also like a health increase too. So it has another element to it of what you fire through it gets multiplied somehow. But with hers, it's just that damage increase, and I feel like they kind of let her down with that. Like there should be more to it.
It could boost. It could also, that would be an interesting thing, if not necessarily it itself gave shielding, but if it increased healing abilities for your supports.
Yeah. Or
that's an interesting thing.
Or did something to your shield if you placed it, like something about the shield itself.
Like it amped up your shield. That would be cool as well.
Yeah. There's definitely stuff they could do. that they're not doing. That's what we're saying.
But we'll have to see how these new changes play out. Because it might be a case where just the speed is enough, but
I just really want her to be able to contend with the other main tanks, because she is the least played main tank on all levels of the game, I would argue. You know, and there's so
you
much...
even see Winston a lot more now.
Right.
I'm playing Winston on.
There's so much more that Winston and Reinhardt can do that I almost feel bad for the girl. So I'd like her to be able to have a little bit more oomph in her bite. Like, she's definitely a problem. Like, if she's on the field, you have to figure out how to work together to take out the Orisa. But once she's gone,
if the enemy team has Bastion and an Arisa working together,
right? But once she's gone, and you know, it takes her half an hour to walk back from spawn. So it's definitely, they definitely need to do something there, I think, to give her a little bit more oomph. And I think like the only way to really make it fair would be to just apply it to the ultimate as opposed to everything, because she's pretty well balanced otherwise, I would say. Maybe a little bit more reach on the Halt as well. It'd be nice to get an extra few people in that well. Okay, so that's our show. That's Hero Recall, the podcast, episode 2. We focused on Orisa today, and what else did we talk about? Well, we had a little bit of a chat about the patch being live, Jeff Goodman's comments that he made concerning some potential future abilities. We had the Custa's Too Smart. We had the Ark went to Washington. We had the 2020, all the Overwatch leagues are going home. We have the final placements for playoffs, and apparently Seoul just beat NYXL, which is great.
3-1.
We talked a little bit about our GOATS play, our favorite hero or least favorite hero, and why. And then we dug into Arisa, the 1-month-old Omnic tank made by Ify. So any other last thoughts or things you want to throw out there, bud?
I hope Boston beats Vancouver.
Okay.
They're right now. They're on the second map. It's 1 for Vancouver, 0 for Boston, but they can pull it out.
Hey, they're a second half team. They're a second half team.
They're a second half team. So I'm hoping.
I gotta clutch my bite my nails for Philly tomorrow.
I wouldn't be too mad if Vancouver won, because they're the former Runaway guys.
Everyone was really excited to see Vancouver and NYXL in the finals, though.
That's not going to happen anymore.
Not going to happen. Sorry, kids.
I don't know what happened. I didn't watch the NYXL match, obviously, but I guess they got complacent.
I really can't wait to watch it. I'm going to watch it tomorrow for sure. Alrighty. So that's
Seoul just brought it. Seoul could have just totally pulled out all the stuff.
They're so hit and miss, man. They really are. Alrighty. So again, this is a new endeavor for us. We hope you really like it. If you do, please let us know. Comment in the YouTube pages. Comment on the SoundCloud or wherever you're listening from. We're trying to get the podcast. I have it currently attempting to get put up on Apple Podcasts and Google Podcasts and all the other podcasts. So if you like the audio version, go for that. Otherwise, the video version usually will have a little bit more oomph to it. Not only will you see our beautiful faces, but we're going to throw in a few like video clips and things like that. So yeah, we really appreciate any support you have to offer. Also, follow the Twitter account. Is it still at Recall Hero?
It's still at Recall Hero, but I kind of want to make it Hero Recall Overwatch, like Hero Recall OW.
We can do that,
because a lot of the players and people who are in Overwatch in general just put that after their thing to set it apart.
I've seen a lot of them putting GG before their names now, which I think is funny.
Yeah, that's funny too. That's another thing in case someone else has taken their thing, I guess.
So either at Recall Hero or at Hero Recall OW, depending on when you watch this podcast, I guess. I'd like to thank James.
I can change it right after this.
Yeah, we can do that. I'd like to thank James for joining me again. Sorry that Keegan's out this week for being sick, but hopefully we have entertained
you. You guys
enough.
Don't want to see his face right now.
It's true. He has a mustache. It's a whole thing.
It's terrifying.
He lost a bet. Let's just say that. If you do want to see it, though, you can hop over to Shadecast, the Division podcast, and see it there. But I recommend that you wear like severe sunglasses or something to help.
Prepared.
Yeah,
to be steered.
And
there's some serious math teacher vibes going on there. Sorry, Keegan.
Alrighty, guys. We love you so much. Thank you for watching. Because the world could always use more heroes like you. Bye-bye.